These shoes are hella shiny. Look at that.
What up, y'all? Man, you don't mind me. I'm over here trying to figure out if that's why I know when I do finally put this fucking podcast out, I probably never, I won't say never, but I'm not gonna do too many live podcasts. That's for certain. Especially about my dance stuff. Don't mind me, man. I'm trying to figure out a few things on my end over here. All right, let's see, man. Y'all had enough of this video? It's 15 minutes long, but I don't think we need to see the same shit over and over again from every angle. I think we all kind of get the gist of what happened during their stuff. I think we all kind of get the gist of what happened during that day at the hotel. But it's a few things that stick out to me, right? And I want to try to break it down a little bit. I know y'all probably can't hear that music on y'all end, but I hear that shit, and it's just fucking with me. So I gotta shut this down. It's fucking with me. It's fucking with me. But check this out, right? See, okay, just going from what they telling us is going on in the courtroom, because none of us actually know. Everything is word of mouth. Everything's so goddamn secretive and shit. Even these bullshit ass different channels and different media outlets that's telling you that they got the transcripts and all that, they lying to you. They can't have the transcript. Well, if that's the case, then somebody in that motherfucker breaking the law and shit. But in a federal case like this, it's impossible for them to have a transcript. So understand that everything that we hearing and everything that's being put out in the media right now, all of this shit is hearsay, right? So let's make sure we understand that. Let's establish that we're all going by hearsay. Now, the point that I'm trying to get to in this situation, the prosecutors, I got to talk like the motherfuckers on TV and shit. The prosecutors, you know, the motherfuckers were trying to lock Nitty up. They claiming that in this scene that we saw that Cassie was so afraid for her life that she was just trying to get away and shit, right? Now, in this case, I'm directly talking to women out there who've been in cases of domestic violence, who've been in situations where they had to fight with males in their own household or whatever, right? It's a lot of things you guys probably know about that. I don't know about domestic violence. I'm not a woman. I ain't never had no motherfucker beating on me at home, right? But motherfucker, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. And if you don't think that I done seen domestic violence, that shit used to play through the neighborhood like motherfucking Saturday morning cartoons. On real, I done seen bitches get their head bust open with bottles and all kind of shit from they niggas. I done seen some crazy niggas and shit. I done seen whoop your ass niggas and shit. And for anybody who know me growing up who might see this, I guarantee they thinking in their mind of a particular couple that we used to watch goddamn it fight all the time. I'm talking about this dude used to whoop her ass. I'm not gonna say the young lady name because I know her. Like I said, this is somebody who I knew growing up, and I got a lot of love for this lady. But I seen her boyfriend dump mud holes in her ass, right? And the point I'm trying to make is, I know what it looks like when a woman is trying to get away. When a woman is scared for her safety and she's trying to get away, is what I'm trying to say. And in this video that I just watched, man, every angle that they showed, I didn't see a woman that was afraid for her life. It was just so many small nuance things and shit, right? Like I'm gonna tell you one a small nuance thing that kind of it just said to me like, what the fuck? And this might seem like nothing, and it's I know it's gonna be a whole lot of female species that's going on to chirping, 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 chirping. Shut up, bird, bitch. Don't chirp me. I don't give a fuck. Only thing I'm gonna tell you, shut the fuck up. But the behavior that stood out to me wasn't nothing big. It was very marginal, and it was when that bitch walked to that motherfucking phone by the elevator on the left side, you know, of our in our from our view, and she casually started putting on lip gloss. That shit blew my mind and shit. Because I'm watching her body language. I'm trying to see if she's shaking at all, or because hey, maybe she's doing it in shock or whatever. So I'm looking at it, and she's calm as a man. She calm as a motherfucking baby in his mama bosom. That stood out to me as strange, but the most important part was everything that I saw, man. I was he trying to keep her from leaving? Absolutely. But I didn't get that. He trying to make me go back to the freak off because if that was the case, before he grabbed them bags, he'd have drugged that bitch back to that room. No, he grabbed them bags first, and he was trying to make sure that she was trailing behind or whatever and shit. And the more I watched it, because I didn't watch this shit a lot of times, it's like the reality of that situation started to play out. And the reality is this, and I don't give a fuck what they try to say. The reality is this. Was she trying to leave? Absolutely. Was he stopping her from leaving? Yeah, he hindered her leaving. If you want to charge him with a minor kidnapping, definitely going to charge him with the assault part. Yeah, he kicked on her ass and shit. He put his foot in her ass. But what was going on? That we wasn't watching a domestic violence victim trying to escape with her life. We was watching a woman who was very comfortable in an abusive relationship. What we were watching was her trying to get away with whatever was in that motherfucking bag. I want you guys to pay attention to the shape of the bag and how she carrying that shit, man. That ain't no motherfucking clothes, just clothes in that bag. She threw them clothes on top of something. Look at the shape of that bag when she walk up out that motherfucking room, y'all. So come on, we're gonna start over again and shit if we can. Here we go. Look at the scene play out. Well, not this angle. I might have to speed up some to that scene. When they show it again, when she first walk out that room, kicking ass, okay, kicking ass, kicking ass. But I'm trying to get to the when they switch the view. This is when here we go right here. Look at the shape of that bag, y'all. Look how she carrying that motherfucking bag. Trying to tiptoe up out of there. And then I want to go back to the beginning when she took her shoes out. Because something that I noticed about this video, that this supposed to be just the pure unedited footage and all that shit outside of content creators smacking their watermarks and shit on it. Why don't we see her put her shoes on? They try to hurry up and skip past that part. Now look how she pulled her stuff out of there. Now where the black bag? Put that shoe on. Okay, I didn't see the putting shoe part on. But I want to see this part again because I want to watch how she handled that black bag. Because it was something with that black bag, that dark with her bag, that she was just carrying it, just real strange for me. As I watch him, you see, he put that foot in there like, bitch, where you think you're going and all that shit. He a bitch ass nigga though. No doubt about it. This nigga, he damn sure need to be put away and shit. Certain people gotta get taught lessons and shit about how to respect other human beings, and he one of them and shit. But I think he really just needs like a real good ass whooping. A lot of folks, the average person walking the street, ain't never really had their ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? And it takes that in life. It takes a real good ass whooping a lot of times, especially for us niggas, in order for us to get it. Like I get motherfuckers typing and talking to me, talking tough all the time. Shit, I be telling you all about and shit. And I be trying to tell them, man, you can type whatever the fuck you want to, you can say whatever you want to. Dog, that shit ain't gonna move me. You got to teach me a lesson. I'm one of them niggas. You got to hit me in my mouth. And even after you hit me in my mouth, nigga, I ain't gonna lie, I still, you got to kick my motherfucking ass thoroughly. On the real. To, to, to prove that you any type of motherfucking authority or tough or any of that shit that everybody be wanting to be. But yeah, no doubt about it. You know, he was a fucking tyrant. But all of this shit about him forcing her to participate in freakouts, they can stop with that bullshit. They can stop with that bullshit. And anybody who paying attention to these bullshit ass transcripts or stories that's coming up out of the courtroom can tell you that. Bitch, how was you a motherfucking victim? He was that much of a tyrant and shit that even after you left him, you went back to fuck him some more. But you was trying to get away for your life and all that shit. No, bitch. You was in an abusive relationship, but you endured that shit because the money signs was way, way, way more important than your integrity. You participated in all that shit. You know, they got text messages from after that shit over. They got text messages from Cassie to him saying how she can't wait for the next freak off. Bitch, that don't sound like no victim. They got another witness. They had another witness today. I heard. You know, we're gonna go through it as we go through a lot of these videos and shit. They had another witness today, and I want y'all to think about this. They had another witness today that tried to say I got a call to. And they had a witness today. She tried to make. She said Diddy sexually assaulted her and abused her and all this and that, right? And she was afraid for her life and all of that, this and that. And nobody asked the question that first came to my mind because when she say all that shit, the first question I'm gonna ask, especially if I'm an attorney, is okay. And when did you escape? When did you escape from this tyrant, this abuser, this fucking monster? When did you try to escape? What's the first time you tried to escape? And the reason why I want to know that question and shit, because just like I said, if a motherfucker is really a tyrant like that, really kicking your ass, you gonna get away. And then you come to find out that this star witness of theirs, she's a former employee who was fired by him. When she was fired, she lost a house and all of that. I wonder if she has a fucking grudge. I don't want to make it seem like I'm excusing any of the behavior of Diddy, because like I say, the little fruity ass nigga, it is, you know, a little evil bastard. And he does deserve to do time. But does he deserve to do 30 years? Hell fucking no. And then not even 20. But yeah, he deserved to be sit down because you can't go around kicking people's ass. But then again, it seemed to me, maybe, just maybe, I actually kind of like getting the ass kicked because out of all the shit I see, I did not. Did y'all see her crying in this video? Did y'all see a little bit of? Did you see any of that shit? Didn't see any of that shit from a motherfucker who just got fucked up. She was walking around like that shit was normal, man. She was conditioned for that shit. She was conditioned for that shit. And then they talk about he had her flying and here and there and there and there to go be fucking on people and all of that shit. So you telling me, bitch, and none of those times were you able to escape? Huh? You couldn't pass a note to somebody, call police. You couldn't do none of that shit, but you so terrified. That's the part that get me and shit. It's like understand that I think we all in agreement that this he's a fucking piece of shit and he needs to be locked up. But what they trying to do to him, because see, I'm gonna tell y'all what This is all they trying to pull all these bullshit strings. They trying to put together a picture of a criminal mastermind because they trying to charge him with RICO. I ain't never heard of one motherfucker being charged in a RICO case. That's just have any of you out there? Isn't that kind of strange? Like what happened to the people who were originally um in the lawsuit? One person, Sir Lucian Grange, this motherfucker magically just his name is always seeming to disappear out of lawsuits. His name is magically disappeared. That's what bothered me so much when I seen black people turning that Drake's lawsuit into Drake versus Kendrick, and it's like, no, his lawsuit ain't no fucking Drake versus Kendrick. His lawsuit was against Lucian Grange and UMG, Universal Music Group. But somehow the devil just keep on getting up out of court. And it's not like Lucian Grange don't have a checkered fucking history. Checkered history. He's been around for a while and shit. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but this is for my black folks. This is for my hip hoppers who was all y'all that was swinging from Kendrick dick and shit, right? Y'all do know that Kendrick is on the same motherfucking label as Drake, right? Yeah, because y'all act like Kendrick is this motherfucker. He for the people and Drake is corporate and commercial. Motherfucker, everything that is Kendrick Lamar, everything about him is through that fucking label. Even his own, that brand new company, that PG Lane, that's the motherfucking partnership with Universal. That's the partnership with Sir Lucian Grange. But y'all think that, oh, Kendrick for us. Nigga, y'all, Kendrick is the new motherfucker. All they doing is saying, okay, we tired of Drake. It's time for us to go after the pro-black nigga. Kendrick been there. I be trying to tell all y'all, all these entertainers, all these rappers, I don't give a fuck what they do. They are part of that motherfucking system. For black folks that ain't figured it out by now, or anybody that ain't figured it out by now, man, Hollywood, the music industry, that shit is not what y'all think it is. That shit is the motherfucking government. Y'all, we all saw the raid on Diddy motherfucking house. We all got all the scoop about all them motherfucking tapes they got about Fricos, but you ain't heard not one charge against anybody. They won't even give you motherfuckers a name. But they want us all to believe that they doing this shit in the name of justice. And white folks, for those of you who always wonder, why do black folks always harboring their criminals? Because we pay attention to the fact that black criminals, they seem to get done a whole lot worse than white criminals. That's why black folks harbor even the criminals. Because most of them just tired of seeing injustice. Just tired of seeing injustice. And if you know me, you know I ain't one of them uppos that's gonna be getting on here crying about no racism, oh, equal rights. Nope. If I feel like you mistreat me, then I'm gonna let you know. And if you continue to mistreat me, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna make you bleed. I'm an instructor. I teach a lesson. I'm not a killer. I'm not a tough guy. I ain't none of that shit. I'm a little sneaky ass, scary ass, lesson teaching ass nigga. I'm fair fight. Ain't no such thing. Only rule in the fight, win. That's who I am. I'm a weasel. I'm that motherfucker that the books always try to make it seem like, oh, he's the bad guy because he out. He was slick. No, that slick motherfucker alive though, ain't he? Hmm. I want you to think about all the smart guys you know and have known in your life. And then I want you to think about all the tough guys you know and have known in your life. Now, the tough guys and the smart guys, how many of them dead? How many of them alive? So you can call that smart motherfucker every name that you want to. I bet you won't call him a sucker. Yeah. That's who I am. I'm that motherfucking weasel. I'm a weasel, a mongoose, a ferret. I'm that motherfucker will get down in the dirt and I'll bite and latch on and I'm gonna drag. You can drag me through the dirt, the mud, and all that shit, nigga. But I know you gonna fade sooner or later. That's me. I'm that weaselly motherfucker. I'm not gonna whoop you with raw power and none of that. No, hell no. I'm a trick. I'm gonna outsmart you on the real. I don't know how the fuck I got there, but that's where we at. That's what happened when you watch the live stream of a medicated, well, a motherfucker who's supposed to be medicated, but just ain't quite. But I want to get into this info on Diddy and shit. Which one is it? This is the one. I want y'all to check this out. We're gonna check this out together. But they replaying the same fucking thing.
Really kind of an incredible turn of events after her testimony that we saw across the course of 4 days. Of course, she was very pregnant when she testified, but Deontay Nash was asked about how.
Hold on. What I want y'all to pay attention to with CNN, because they got this thing on a loop. Yeah, they got this video on the loop. It's talking about some live. Yeah, it's on a live loop. It's the same 10-minute video. They playing it over and over and over again because they painting this picture of Diddy to us. They telling us all this shit about him being a monster. We don't know none of this shit. We don't know none of these motherfucking details. It's the media that's shaping the narrative. When the media is supposed to be reporting about what's in court, but I want you to pay attention to their words, pay attention to how they talking. Ladies and gentlemen, they this is what you call propaganda. That's why you're gonna see all female anchors reporting it all the time. You're always gonna see the soft ones. The fix is in. If I was gonna give Diddy any information, because most motherfuckers be talking, no, don't testify, don't testify. Yeah, nigga, testify. And when you do testify, Sean Puffy Combs, Fluffy Combs. When you do testify, Fluffy, my nigga, don't testify trying to save your ass. Don't testify trying to outsmart nobody, trying to be slick, because you ain't smart. Diddy ain't smart. You can tell. You can tell a dumb nigga when you look at him. He looks stupid. That nigga lip and mouth all the way open and shit, them big ass teeth and shit. Yeah. You can tell that nigga ain't smart. That's why I don't like them trying to paint him as this like criminal mastermind. It's like, man, he's a fucking puppet, man. I don't give a fuck about no Diddy. Show me who got their hand up his ass. That's who I want to know. I want to hit. Let me know when you got Clive Davis on trial. Let me know when you got Lucian Green. Let me know when you're reporting about all the perverted shit they've been involved in. No, they want to give us the nigga that they're going to paint as the worst monster in the world. Hell no, he was just a bad nigga with money that everybody around him empowered. Everybody. But you want to get Cassie talking about a victim. She's so much a victim that she never went to the motherfucking police. Even when she came out, the way we know about all this, we don't know about this because she brought these charges. No, we know about this shit because she extorted Sean Puffy Combs in front of the motherfucking world. She extorted his ass in front of we all were witness to her letting his ass know, you gonna run that money, nigga, or I'm talking. And then he gave her the money and she still talking. Shit. And what's the number that they told him? What, like 30 million? I know it's between 10 and 30 million. 10, 30 million shit. Maybe Diddy shouldn't go to jail at all. He paid her. But that's my ass kicking. Somebody ask me right now, will you let Diddy kick you in your motherfucking ass for 10, 20 million? I'm not gonna lie. My ego, I said my ego dead, but that motherfucker ain't all the way dead. Well, maybe it ain't ego. My pride ain't gonna let nobody kick me in my ass, dog. I'm sorry. I don't need that money. Fuck, keep your money, nigga. You kick me in my ass, dog. You dying. I ain't gonna say you dying broke, but I promise you, I'm breaking bones. I'm breaking bones. Kick me in my ass, I'm breaking bones. Nigga, my pride is attached to my ass. You can't kick me in my ass. Oh, hell no. So, but that's me. But let's be honest, they try to act like, oh, he robbed her career in this. That career, that bitch had one hit. Cassie ass was trash. Motherfucker was not fucking with Cassie like that. That bitch had that one. It's just me and you. However that shit went, I just remember the beat. But yeah, they paint my boy out to be this motherfucking monster. I do got a soft spot for Diddy because I used to get a lot of white bitches back when I was young because they thought I would look like Diddy. When they said that shit, I thought, take that. Hell yeah, I had curly top. I used to wear all that shiny shit, fall sweaters and shit. That shit wasn't shining. I ain't want it. Nigga, these bitches say I look like Diddy. I used to try to keep. So I got them big choppers too. I used to show them bitches off. Yeah. Show them big choppers off. I was get my Diddy on, boy. Get my Diddy on with the white bitches. But no, okay, let's check it out.
Through the first few witnesses was establishing the sex trafficking and the coercion through Cassie and then corroborating witnesses. I think now what we've started to see is how Combs used employees of his business to, I mean, there was a legitimate business, but then these employees were being
This
asked
is what they're after, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about it.
As well.
Which is part
That's
of RICO,
the
right?
enterprise.
You could
The
have
RICO,
a legitimate business doing
the
illegitimate
RICO
acts. So it doesn't
charge,
have to be a
that's
fake
what
entity.
they're trying to do.
Or just that the people
Because if they
doing
can convict him on a
they
RICO,
have
if they can
legitimate jobs,
prove
employees
that he used
receive,
his business for criminal
salaries for
dealings,
that,
they can
but
take
they're also
his
doing other
assets.
things
That's
for
what they're
this
after.
purpose, which here is alleged to be
Yeah,
essentially.
I know it looked like we watching a court trial, but we ain't.
Satisfaction of Combs.
I guarantee you. You know how you know you ain't looking at a trial? Look at all the players. Look at the prosecutors. Look at all of them.
I mean, we have
Maureen Comey. How many of you know they named Comey? You know why it sounds so familiar? Because that's the daughter of the crooked FBI agent James Comey, the one who was trying to set Trump up.
To explain the enterprise.
It's a fix, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think they'll do.
So when I get on this motherfucker all the time, and I'm talking about it's the Jews, it's the Jews.
Now, one of the biggest.
Guess who it is?
when the
Once
defense
again,
asked
ladies
the
and gentlemen.
judge to declare a mistrial. The motion rejected.
It should
We
be a
also heard
mistrial.
from a former stylist at Diddy's company.
You got
and
these
he
motherfuckers got
testified that
evidence
Diddy
that
threatened to leak
mysteriously
sex tapes of her
disappeared.
online.
But they
He said he
telling the
saw
court about it.
Diddy
If you ain't got it, why the fuck does the court even know about
and
it?
heard him vow to bury her music if she didn't do what he
Vow
said.
to bury her music.
The stylist's
What
name
fucking
is
music?
Deontay Nash, and he gave specific examples of how Diddy used his power over Cassie's career, testifying, quote, Diddy told her that
And look
one
at this
time
big
if she
forehead,
keeps
fell
having a
out ass
smart-ass
little
mouth, her little mixtape won't be coming
See
out.
what I see.
Nash said Diddy broke a promise to monetize one of
Big
Cassie's
forehead
mixtapes,
fell out
even though it was a
bitch.
top download when released
Is
for
the white
free.
man?
Nash testified that he
Ever
thinks
really
only
want
about
these niggas?
10%, and he was being
All they gotta
generous
do is
there,
go to the
of Cassie's
black
music
women.
ever saw the light of
Gonna
day.
serve a nigga
But
up
while
in a
Diddy was allegedly holding back her songs, Nash
on
said
a
Diddy was
motherfucking
threatening
platter.
to expose her sex tapes. He testified about one incident when Diddy
Look at
pushed
all the
Cassie
motherfuckers
out of her
testifying
apartment.
against Diddy.
She and Nash drove away.
How
Then
many
Diddy
white
called
faces
for
y'all
men
see
to
on these
pull over.
stands?
The prosecutor asked Nash, what
No,
did
they
you
getting
hear Mr. Combs
all
say
the
when he came
sellout
up to the car window?
dollar
Nash
sign
answers
seeing ass niggas.
that
Them
she
niggas
effed
bought.
up
They
and that
buying
he was
them
going
niggas.
to put her sex tapes on the internet. He was going to release them
The little
on
faggot
schedule.
stylish shit.
That he was going to first start by
Look at that,
sending them
Maureen
to her
Comey,
parents' jobs,
James Comey's
and he was
daughter.
going to get them
And
fired.
you want to know? You want
Nash
to know
told Cassie to let
two
Diddy
other
use
major
the tape
cases
because
she's
he'd be on them
handled?
too.
Because
The
she's such an
prosecutor asked,
outstanding
how did Cassie
lawyer,
respond
attorney,
when
whatever
he
you
said
want to
that
call
Puff
it, bitch.
was on the videos as well? Well, she said that she
Jeffrey
knew that he wasn't on the
Epstein.
videos.
Yes, she
It was
handled that
him
prosecution.
taping her
You see how
with
that
other
went.
guys.
You want to know another one
Nash
she handled?
testified that Cassie
The
told him
Ghislaine
she didn't
Maxwell
want to have
case.
sex with the other men. but she
See how
didn't
that turned
because
out.
Diddy wanted her
Come on,
to.
man. The fix is in, y'all.
Nash's testimony wasn't the only big moment
The
in court
fix is
today.
in.
Even before lunch, the
I
defense
don't give a fuck
pushed
about
the
none of
judge
them. I
to
wish
declare
somebody,
a
if it was
mistrial.
possible, I wish somebody
Why?
burn all that
Well, the
shit
defense
up.
was not
Put them
happy with the
all
prosecution for
on that
questioning the
Hollywood
arson
Hill,
investigator
line them
when he
all
was
up.
told
The
the jury
Diddy's, the
that fingerprint
prosecution line,
evidence from
all
Kid
of
Cudi's
them.
home was
The
destroyed
cameraman,
without
all
police
of them. And
authorization.
just burn
The
that shit
defense
to the ground.
argued the
Stop
prosecution
poisoning
was
America.
suggesting that Diddy was somehow
Stop
responsible
poisoning
for
our
destroying
motherfucking
it.
minds and
An
our hearts with
intimation
y'all bullshit.
would not be enough to unring the bell.
But I got to time out.
The
I got to
judge
see the
denied the
last
mistrial motion,
48
but
seconds
told
of
the
this
jury
game that I
to
totally
ignore the
missed.
testimony. One of Diddy's lawyers told the judge, there is no way to unring this bell. One thing that we're going to hear about from Wagmeister on the testimony of Deontay Nash was about how
Like the Knicks gonna win this 3-2 Knicks
element
now.
of control, right? They need to talk
108-90
about the
with
control
42
because,
seconds
you know, for
left.
sex trafficking cases, you got to have this coercion, this fraud, these threats. Jennifer,
That's
there was a
Game
moment
6,
throughout
y'all.
the testimony where he talked about Diddy's control over Cassidy. Did they move the needle, though?
They did. I actually thought they had a good day today because she testified, of course, that she did feel coerced. And there has been a series of witnesses who were corroborating her in certain respects. But this witness I thought was really powerful because he got down to specifics that she was told that her music wouldn't come out, that her career would be stalled, that she was told that the sex tapes would be released. It would ruin her reputation. So this control is not just a vague thing. It's like a concrete thing. These are the specific ways in which I saw him controlling her. I thought that was very powerful.
I bet you did.
Yeah, and I also think, look,
They
he
always putting these
corroborated
man-hater
physical
ass
violence,
bitches
but
on
it
TV.
was a step further than that. He talked about times when Deontay saw Diddy come to find Cassie with like 5 or 6 of these security guards that we've heard so much about. The intimidation factor, that she was being beaten, that she was trying to hide from him, and he was hunting her down
I wanna
and
roast this
finding
big
her.
bitch,
So
but I ain't
that
gonna lie, I
speaks
like
to
big
this
bitch.
element of
I
coercion,
love fake
force, fraud, and
teeth.
coercion, which is in the sex trafficking
Big
statute.
old
That she is
kid.
living
I love
under this
big
threat
people. I'm a big
during
girl
this
kid.
period
I'm
of
the
time. And to me, that really
intercontinental
moves the needle on
heavyweight
that aspect.
champion
He
of
was
the
talking about
world,
that, right? And
Craig.
he was describing how, I mean, just to paraphrase, she had nowhere
He
to
was like
run.
my
She tried
sister.
to go to a hotel.
I'm not gonna lie, I
The
wouldn't
hotel,
fuck her.
and she was supposed to call Deontay on
I wouldn't
the
fuck
phone
that
when she
skinny
got
white
to the
bitch on
safe
the
house
corner
in this
either.
hotel.
That bitch looked
When
like
she
him.
called, Diddy saw the phone and
Real.
saw the hotel
Strong ass,
pop
straight
up.
ass, no.
They then went to the hotel and told him to go get her. I mean,
They-
at one
they-
point she
they cut
describes
that bitch
even
off.
perhaps taking
Straight to the
drastic
motherfucker.
steps.
Yes, and
He
you know,
want
now
them-
that my
he
mic
want
is
them to
working,
need
I
no
can
fat
read
on
you
it. Look at that
part
motherfucker.
of this
Look at that
direct testimony from Deontay Nash,
That
which
bitch
is
is
actually
like, what?
talking about that instance that you're referencing.
But I ain't gonna lie, I
right
like fucking
before.
ugly bitches too,
So
so I
he
probably
speaks
fuck her just
about
bitch.
how Diddy shows up to his home and
Ugly
starts
bitch
searching
got-
for Cassie.
From my past and
Here's
shit
what
when
he
I was
said.
young,
Quote,
I learned
Puff
ugly
came in
bitch got
and he was
got
like,
good
where
pussy.
the F is she?
Sorry,
He
ladies,
started
tough
looking all
so
around
vulgar.
my house, in the closets. He went in the oven. I don't know why he looked in the oven. He asked me where she was. Then when the prosecutor said, who is she? He clarified that it's Cassie. And then after he looked around his house, then he asked for his car keys and took his phone. So as Misty said, it feels like there was this culture of fear and monitoring and intimidation, at least according to Deontay Nash's testimony. And again, he was someone who was not just inside Combs's and Cassie's inner circle as a stylist.
Let me tell y'all something that also came out that they ain't telling y'all. You guys will probably hear it because I'm gonna try to play as much as whatever we can come across because I want y'all to get as total of a picture as we can here about this tyrant Diddy. They asked this sissy ass stylist, because he is sissy. If you a nigga and you a stylist, you a sissy. They asked him, so have you had contact with Mr. Combs since those days? And he said, absolutely. You know, I'm not going to hate the guy or anything. What? What? Then they asked him, oh, well, how recent? Oh, in December. I believe most recently in December. So you were continuously in contact with this man who you say was a tyrant. You were so afraid of. You were so afraid of him that all these years after you don't even work for him and none of that, you still keep in contact with him though. But you're so afraid of this criminal mastermind. Huh? No, like I said, Diddy a puppet. Give me the Jews that got their hand up his ass. I wanted the Clive Davises, the Lucian Granges, the Leah Cohen. But let's get back into it. I talk too much.
He was one of Cassie's best friends, so he
I
really
think
was
I'm just gonna
hearing
let
from her in real
this just
time
play out
what
on
she
y'all.
perceived was
I'm gonna play
happening.
my
And they're still
game.
very close,
Come
right?
check on my
Very
son.
close. In fact, he said that he spoke to her
my
yesterday
wife's
to
done asked me
congratulate
twice.
her for the
Gonna
birth
grab
of her
inside and
baby
clean
boy,
the
which
living room,
is really kind of an
get ready for
incredible
bed.
turn of events
Yeah,
after
it's
her
nice.
testimony that we saw across the course of 4
Yeah,
days.
so
Of
I
course,
gotta
she was
check
very
out for a
pregnant
minute, y'all.
when she testified. But Deontay Nash was asked about how close he was with Cassie still, and he said,
But is that,
And that irrational part might undercut it, you're saying?
yes, but is there a causal connection
blow it
between
up.
his irrationality, his jealousy, his outrage?
The wrong one. Yep, wrong one. Sorry. Okay, I gotta go back.
expose her tapes
I
and
use my
also to get
phone.
her
I'm not at my
parents
computer
fired
head,
as
y'all.
well.
Yes,
Well, my
but
other
is
computer.
that
I use
because,
different
right?
computers
Is
for
that
different
because
shit.
you're not going to do a freak off with me? Is there a direct connection between, hey, I'm going to expose these tapes, I'm going to get your parents fired, I'm going to extort $20,000 from your parents, etc.? Is that because you come to this freak off with me or else? And that's the issue. You got to establish his conduct, maniacal, radical, horrific, inhumane, indecent. But is that because I want you to freak off with me? And if you establish that connection and the jury gets it, it's one thing. If you just show that he's a maniac who's doing horrible things because he's jealous, that's quite another.
Well, on the 29th birthday party, there was testimony that she had gone to a club with her friends. And Deontay Nash testifies that Cassie is essentially persuaded and almost browbeaten. And she's saying, I want to have fun with my friends. I don't want to do the freak off. And at one point, he says that he hears Diddy say, and I'm paraphrasing here, I do all this stuff for you, and you can't do this one effing thing for me, F you. That was how they tried to thread the needle about the pressure about the freak offs. Does that address Joey's claim, or is that still not enough?
I think it doesn't have to be so surgical, right? I mean, I think if you have a relationship where there's all this pressure, all this coercion, day in and day out, she doesn't really control her own life, he controls her life, and then he makes these demands on her, including these sex parties, part of which was the trafficking, right, element. I think that's going to be good enough for the jury to say, we're going to find the sex trafficking because of the kind of totality of circumstances of their relationship. But I do think that because of the relationship and how long it lasted and how much she wanted it to be more serious, the jury is going to have to decide the coercion was really coercion. I mean, they have to get over that hurdle. But I don't think it has to be so specific of like, at this time, right before the freak off, it has to be coercive.
Well,
And a celebrity stylist who worked with Sean Diddy Combs for about a decade will be back on the stand in the music mogul's trial this morning. Deontay Nash testified about several incidents in which he claims to have seen Combs assault former girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and he explained one moment to the jurors about when Diddy came to his home looking for her, saying, quote, Puff came in and he was like, where the F is she? He started looking all around my house, in the closets. He went in the oven. I don't know why he looked in the oven. And he asked me where she was. All right, here with me to discuss all that, former federal prosecutor Elise Adamson. Elise, I'm sorry I have you on the Diddy docket, but every day there's something looking in the oven. So here we go. The stylist, why is this figure in the employer's orbit significant?
Well, Audie, there's a lot of significance to this stylist. And honestly, when I saw him on the witness list, I didn't appreciate the significance until after this testimony. So first of all, again, he's offering some insight into how this Combs enterprise operated, which is key to that RICO charge. We've talked about this before. It can't just be Combs operating on his own. He needs to be operating with people furthering this corrupt
And the
enterprise.
stylist is there behind closed doors, sometimes silently, while people are still doing business, right?
People are still doing business, and also the business of the sex trafficking, which is kind of at the heart of this case. And I also wanted to say, significant to the sex trafficking charge was a lot of his testimony. He talked about blackmail. he talked about seeing Cassie be bloody, and most significantly, he talked about Cassie telling him she didn't want to participate in those freak-offs. So his testimony was exceptionally helpful for 2 charges, the
Wait,
RICO
say that
and the
last
sex
part again.
trafficking.
That is he one of the first people to come up on the stand and say specifically she did not want to be a part of this?
Yeah, that's right. And so Cassie herself, when she testified, she made clear that she did not want to participate in these freak-offs. But subsequently, some of the witnesses said it seemed like she was cooperative or she was enjoying herself. Nash's testimony corroborated what Cassie had said, that at some point she just didn't want to do it anymore. Some of the testimony was heartbreaking, that she wanted to go to a party. She was still young, like a young kid. And Diddy said no, he wanted her at a hotel to participate in this freak-off. And he asked, well, why are you doing it? If something to the extent of, well, why are you doing it if you don't want to do it? She said, because he wants me to. Almost like she has no choice. That is completely in contradiction to the defense's opening, painting her as some strong woman making her own decisions. She seemed like a scared young person who was under the control of a very powerful man.
Okay, the defense team at one point asked the judge to declare a mistrial. Is this a Hail Mary? Is this just the thing you do? Help me understand a legal mindset.
Yeah, very dramatic moment in court, of course, when the defense jumps up and asks for a mistrial. It's actually very common, though. A lot of times, the defense is trying to preserve an appellate issue. They also want to shoot their shot, you know? Maybe a judge will buy their legal argument. It was all based on some fingerprint cards. We had in LAPD fire investigator testifying, and they were talking about the investigation in that Molotov cocktail bombing.
Yes.
And they were talking about how the fingerprint cards where they were testing for prints mysteriously had been destroyed. And the defense was saying, well, the line of questioning can leave a misimpression with the jury that Combs was the one that destroyed it. And they said it was so prejudicial, you got to throw out the whole case. And what the judge is going to do is just instruct the jury to not listen to that testimony, strike that testimony as irrelevant. And that
Yeah.
is the proper cure. But
you also signal to jurors, we're worried about this. We're worried that you heard it.
sometimes
yeah.
that's the thinking. It's so key that you said that, because when deciding whether to make these objections, you do draw attention to testimony when a judge then gives a limiting instruction and says, okay, you may have heard that they testified X. You need to disregard that. Do not use it in your deliberations. It's irrelevant. I mean, you're
I'm trying to unring the bell.
Unring the bell.
One more thing. We have heard in the past his lawyer talking about the idea that Diddy would want to testify. It's one thing to say that ahead of your trial. It's another thing to sit through the trial, see how it's going, and make that call. What are going to be the signals to you that that might actually happen?
I honestly don't know. And I'm saying this because he's in so much legal peril that putting him on the stand, in my opinion, would be probably a bad tactical decision, because the government has so much information that they can go and cross him on. If he doesn't come out as credible,
cross-examine. Like there's a lot of questions that have been raised.
Correct. So if he were to go on the stand, would he be doing, Audie, is painting the picture that this was all voluntary, he's just into kink, it's consensual. So he would get to tell his side of the story, which would be very helpful. However, the government would then get to go and bring in all these documents, ask him all these questions, and if he comes off as unlikable or not a truth teller, that could potentially really sink him. And the defense is doing the best job they possibly can. A lot of times when they put a defendant on the stand, it's either because the client insists upon it, or it is a Hail Mary. They didn't get out from cross or through their case what they needed to. And so they have to put the defendant on the stand so they can go and piece together this story. But
I should say, we don't know that's going to happen, but I think now we know the scenarios where it could.
It would be, if it did, I would be heading up to New York to watch it. I'll tell you that right now.
That's true, and we would have you on. So thank you, Elise Adamson, former federal prosecutor. And of course, if you want to know more details, get the download at the end of each day, check out the CNN podcast hosted by Laura Coates. It's called Trial by Jury. New episodes out almost every day.
Disturbing testimony in the Sean Combs racketeering and sex trafficking trial. Back on the stand, Combs' former stylist, Deontay Nash. Nash made several explosive claims Wednesday, including that he saw Combs assault Cassie Ventura multiple times. He also testified that he heard Combs threaten Ventura, including threats to release sex tapes of her and damage her music career. Nash also testified that Ventura told him she did not want to attend Combs' drug-fueled and so-called freak-offs. The prosecution says its next witness will be another one of Combs' former assistants who will testify under a pseudonym. Here with me now, defense and trial attorney Misty Maris. From this stylist, is this the first time that we've heard someone corroborate Ventura, who said she didn't want to take part in this? Is this the first time we've heard someone say, yes, I heard her say she did not want to be a part of the freak-off?
Yes, Sarah, and this is going back to, in real time, what she was communicating to somebody who was not only her stylist, but was a very close friend for a long period of time. And in fact, he testified that they're still friends. But even more so than that corroboration, you also have Deontay Nash, the stylist, observing this physical abuse. But take it a step further. He hears these threats. He tries to help her get away, go to hotels to get away from Combs when he's violent or when he's seeking her out. And guess what she's met with, according to Nash? Security guards coming to the hotel to bring her back. A time where they're riding in a car and the security guards cut them off, and another altercation happens between Combs and Cassie. So this all speaks to that larger element of force, fraud, and coercion that prosecutors need to establish. She's basically living under threats during this period of time that she's with Combs.
So of all we've heard, I think this is the 13th witness, of all we've heard, this seems to be a significant point where they're starting to turn to try to show, hey, here's all the things to corroborate what Cassie Ventura said, but this helps us with our particular case with racketeering and with sex trafficking to some degree, because she said that she didn't want to do it and then she was sort of coerced into doing it. All right, let's move on to the person who is going to be testifying after Nash finishes testimony today, someone named Mia. Now, why is this person under a pseudonym?
So this person's under a pseudonym because they're anticipated they're going to testify about sexual abuse that they experienced at the hands of Combs. So Mia is a very consequential witness from what we know right now. First, she's referenced in the opening statements by prosecutors. So that means they're foreshadowing her testimony. She's a victim of sexual abuse. She was an assistant of Combs, so she's likely to testify about what is this criminal enterprise. It's called the method and means, which in layman's terms is how it works. She's also been referenced in others' testimonies, so she's probably a corroborating witness as well. So her testimony is pretty key, and it's not only going to go through today, it's anticipated to go through tomorrow as well.
This trial just keeps giving so many disturbing details. We will see how the prosecution goes forward with this case today. Court starts in just a bit here. Misty Maris, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
John?
Day 10 of Diddy's trial, I saw the tearful testimony from a former Diddy employee who'd spent years in his inner circle. She claims that he kidnapped her and threatened to kill her. In just a moment, my team of legal experts and court insiders will go through what we heard from Capricorn Clark. Now, her testimony is critically important to the prosecution because her job put her inside the core of Diddy's business empire. Now, Clark testified that she was kidnapped, her words, when Diddy found out that Cassie Ventura was dating Kid Cudi. She also told the jury today about the multiple times that Diddy had threatened her own life, including during her very first day on the job. And she said that Diddy had final approval over every aspect of Cassie's career. Now, Clark, she worked for Diddy on and off for more than a decade, starting first as a personal assistant in 2004. And what she alleged happened in December of 2011 may be the most shocking. That's when Diddy discovered that Cassie was in a relationship of some kind with Kid Cudi. She said that Diddy banged on her door around 6 o'clock in the morning, holding a gun and furious that she didn't tell him about Cassie and Cudi. Clark says to the jury, quote, he just said, get dressed, we're going to kill this N-word. And when she tried to protest, she said Diddy told her, I don't give an F what you want to do, go get dressed. Now, Clark said that she was then swept into a Cadillac Escalade. They drove to Kid Cudi's home, and she claimed that Diddy and one of his security guards then went inside the house. Clark frantically called Cassie to tell her what was happening, testifying that a short time later, Cudi's car pulled up next to them and then took off. Diddy and the security guard jumped back in the Escalade. Then she described a short car chase before Cudi got away. After it was all over, Clark said Diddy gave her an ultimatum. She and Cassie needed to sway Kid Cudi against telling the cops that Diddy was involved in the alleged break-in. Clark testified, quote, he says, if you guys don't convince him of that, I'll kill all you MFers. But that wasn't the only time that Clark said that she feared for her own life. She claimed Diddy once accused her of stealing diamond jewelry. Said that she suffered through 5 straight days of lie detector tests inside of a gutted, rundown Manhattan office building. She testified the man giving the tests warned her, quote, "I'm not getting a good reading. You need to calm down. You're going to be in the East River if I can't get a reading on this." Clark even said that Diddy threatened her on her very first day working for him, testifying that it's because she worked at Suge Knight's record label before working for Diddy. She claimed Diddy took her to Central Park with his bodyguard. Happened. He told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me. Clark also testified about Diddy's control over Cassie Ventura, saying that he had final approval on everything from Cassie's hair and makeup to the projects she was working on. And again with CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister, who saw all of the testimony in court today. It was quite a day. She testified very emotionally, by the way, for a long period of time. And it was about a very dark parting message that she spoke about today when Diddy fired her in 2012. What did she say happened?
Yeah, so Capricorn Clark didn't just testify to what she alleged happened while she was working for Diddy. She also testified and told the jury that after she was terminated, that he essentially blacklisted her from the industry. I want to read you part of what she said on the stand. She said, quote, that he said that I would never work again, that he would show me that all these people weren't my friends, and he would make me kill myself. So she testified to the jury that she was scared. He had the power and the control over her career. She said that her home at the time was paid for by the company, her car was paid for by the company. All these things went away when she was terminated, and she had trouble getting another job.
She was breaking down in sobs throughout. I mean, it almost was like she was on the edge of always crying, and she did throughout her entire testimony. But it was when she talked about asking for Sean's forgiveness that she really got emotional. What happened?
Yes, so the defense during their cross-examination, they brought up a series of emails and text messages showing that Capricorn Clark stayed in communication with Sean Combs even after she was terminated. As recently as 2021, that she had been in communication with him, as recently as 2024, that she had met with him. Now, she explained this because she said he had all the power and she had nothing. And again, remember, she used that word blacklisted. So her explanation was, I had to work, I had to put food on the table. She said that she has a son with autism who is nonverbal. She has to provide for him. And she felt that the only way to continue to work in this industry was to stay in Diddy's good graces, because she did say that she went to a few other companies for what she thought were job interviews or meetings, and that she realized that she was blacklisted because she thought her perspective that Diddy badmouthed her in the industry.
She went for interviews. They returned with warnings, apparently. A lot to unpack. Let's go over the table. I want to talk to some of our great legal minds who are here as well to break this all down. We've got CNN legal analyst and, of course, criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson is in the building today. Also, we have the former Westchester DA, Mimi Rocha, and former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland. There is a lot to unpack today. First of all, she was really emotional throughout the entire day. I cannot overstate that enough. She was on the verge of tears throughout, and sometimes holding her head in her hands, taking off her glasses just to emote even more. I don't mean emote in the way that I didn't believe her, but she was really emotional. I want to begin with you, Jeremy, because now we're in week 3, okay? I want to try to reset and remind our viewers about the charges here. You've got RICO, you've got sex trafficking, you've got prostitution, all important. Let's start with RICO, racketeering, essentially. First up, you got the predicate crimes. How does this move the needle towards the prosecution proving RICO? Does it?
I don't think they have until recently, and I think it starts in large part, with Capricorn. But they moved it until Agnifilo did a good job a little bit in moving it back, because you need that predicate act, and here we'll go with kidnapping.
Translate that, what that means, this predicate act. What does that mean in
so
layman's
you need
terms?
this underlying crime that's part of this. You need more than one that helps build to the structure for this criminal enterprise, and this is where they were going. And here you have the kidnapping as a piece of this, and sort of furtherance, not a one-off, but in furtherance of this, I'll use the criminal conspiracy. And What she says is, at one point, is that she gets into the car and she's forced into the car, and I think she claims that she also told Cassie and Cuddy in the call that there was a gun, but they didn't say anything about the gun. She says something about how she went along possibly to make sure everything was okay, and Diddy didn't get into further trouble and substance. He was cross-examined by Mark Agnifilo on that point. Well, then was she really taken there against her will? You need to establish these predicate acts. Again, we're going to go with kidnapping. Otherwise, you can't get that RICO or conspiracy reach for RICO charge. Did they move the ball? They had to get there because they haven't gotten there yet. Did they do enough? Not yet.
So we're 17 witnesses in. We're still on the predicate part. And of course, the jurors are not hearing every single day. This is the predicate part of the government's case. But they got to prove the predicate. But the word enterprise is going to be top of mind for them as well. They have to show that there is an enterprise itself. And they, of course, have now an inner part of the circle in terms of this woman, Capricorn Clark. Now, she says, Mimi, that security guards ran lie detector tests. She didn't know who everyone was involved. That they were going to throw her in the East River over allegations that she stole from Jacob the jeweler. There was mob-like terms, the East River beyond that. Does that in and of itself confirm that there was an inner circle that was an enterprise?
Well, I think we're getting there. And I think they've started to put in the building blocks for that. It wasn't the first piece, right? The first piece, obviously, through the first few witnesses, was establishing the sex trafficking and the coercion through Cassie, and then corroborating witnesses. I think now what we've started to see is how Combs used employees of his business, there was a legitimate business, but then these employees were being asked or told to do illegitimate things as well.
Which is part
That's
of RICO,
the
right?
enterprise.
You could have a legitimate business doing illegitimate acts and still fall on. It doesn't have to be a fake entity.
Yes. Or just that the people doing it may have legitimate jobs, be employees, receive salaries for that, but they're also doing other things for this purpose, which here is alleged to be essentially the satisfaction of Combs, his desires, his needs, his self-esteem, his power, his control. It's going to, we have a ways more to go. And this is one of those cases that I think is very much going to come down to closing arguments and how the government brings all that together to explain the enterprise to the jury. And I think they'll do a very good job here, but I think they're putting in the building blocks of that now.
Now, one of the biggest moments came early when the defense asked the judge to declare a mistrial. The motion rejected. We also heard from a former stylist at Diddy's company. Now, he testified that Diddy threatened to leak sex tapes of her online. He said he saw Diddy beat his friend Cassie and heard him vow to bury her music if she didn't do what he said. The stylist's name is Deontay Nash, and he gave specific examples of how Diddy used his power over Cassie's career, testifying, quote, Diddy told her that one time if she keeps having a smart-ass mouth, her little mixtape won't be coming out. Nash said Diddy broke a promise to monetize one of Cassie's mixtapes, even though it was a top download when released for free. Nash testified that he thinks only about 10%, and he was being generous there, of Cassie's music ever saw the light of day. But while Diddy was allegedly holding back her songs, Nash said Diddy was threatening to expose her sex tapes. He testified about one incident when Diddy pushed Cassie out of her apartment. She and Nash drove away, but then Diddy called and demanded they pull over. The prosecutor asked Nash, what did you hear Mr. Combs say when he came up to the car window? Nash answers that she effed up and that he was going to put her sex tapes on the internet. He was going to release them on schedule, that he was going to first start by sending them to her parents' jobs, and he was going to get them fired. Nash told Cassie to let Diddy release the tapes because he'd be on them too. The prosecutor asked, how did Cassie respond when you said that Puff was on the videos as well? Well, she said that he wasn't on the videos, that it was him taping her with other guys. Now, Nash testified that Cassie told him She didn't want to have sex with the other men, but she did it because Diddy wanted her to. Nash's testimony wasn't the only big moment in court today. Even before lunch, the defense pushed the judge to declare a mistrial. Why? Well, the defense was not happy with the prosecution for questioning an arson investigator when the witness told the jury that fingerprint evidence from Kid Cudi's home was destroyed without his authorization. The defense argued the prosecution was suggesting that Diddy was somehow responsible for destroying it, and that intimation would not be enough to unring the bell. The judge denied the mistrial motion but told the jury to ignore the testimony. One of Diddy's lawyers told the judge, there is no way to unring this bell. One thing that we're going to hear about from Wagmeister on the testimony of Deontay Nash was about how this element of control, right? They need to talk about the control because, you know, for sex trafficking cases, you got to have this coercion, this fraud, these threats. Jennifer, there was a moment throughout the testimony where he talked about Diddy's control over Cassidy. Did they move the needle, though?
They did. I actually thought they had a good day today because she testified, of course, that she did feel coerced. And there has been a series of witnesses who are corroborating her in certain respects. But this witness I thought was really powerful because he got down to specifics, that she was told that her music wouldn't come out, that her career would be stalled, that she was told that the sex tapes would be released, it would ruin her reputation. So this control is not just a vague thing, it's like a concrete thing. These are the specific ways in which I saw him controlling her. I thought that was very powerful.
I mean, you agree?
Yeah, and I also think, look, he corroborated the physical violence, but it was a step further than that. He talked about times when Deontay saw Diddy come to find Cassie with like 5 or 6 of these security guards that we've heard so much about. The intimidation factor, that she was being beaten, that she was trying to hide from him, and he was hunting her down and finding her. So that speaks to this element of coercion, force, fraud, and coercion, which is in the sex trafficking statute, that she was living under this threat during this period of time. And to me, that really moved the needle on that aspect of the case.
He was talking about that, right? I mean, he was describing how, I mean, just to paraphrase, she had nowhere to run. She tried to go to a hotel. And she was supposed to call Deontay on the phone when she got to the safe house, this hotel. When she called, Diddy saw the phone and saw the hotel pop up. They then went to the hotel and told him to go get her. I mean, at one point she describes even perhaps taking drastic steps.
Yes, and you know, now that my mic is working, I can read you part of this direct testimony from Deontay Nash, which is actually talking about that instance that you're referencing, Laura, but before. So he speaks about how Diddy shows up to his home and starts searching for Cassie. Here's what he said, quote, Puff came in and he was like, where the F is she? He started looking all around my house, in the closets. He went in the oven. I don't know why he looked in the oven. He asked me where she was. Then when the prosecutor said, who is she? He clarified that it's Cassie. And then after he looked around his house, then he asked for his car keys and took his phone. So as Misty said, it feels like there was this culture of fear and monitoring and intimidation, at least according to Deontay Nash's testimony. And again, he was someone who was not just inside Combs's and Cassie's inner circle as a stylist, he was one of Cassie's best friends. So he really was hearing from her in real time what she perceived was happening.
And they're still very close, right?
Very close. In fact, he said that he spoke to her yesterday to congratulate her for the birth of her baby boy, which is really kind of an incredible turn of events after her testimony that we saw across the course of 4 days. Of course, she was very pregnant when she testified. But Deontay Nash was asked about how close he was with Cassie still, and he said, we're very close. You know, I spoke to her yesterday. He was also, by the way, asked if he still speaks to Combs, and he did admit that he has stayed in touch with him. He said it in a very nonchalant way, basically like, of course I would talk to him. He's Sean Combs. And when asked how he feels about him being there today in court, he said, I don't hate him. It's not in me.
It was an amazing moment. And just the idea of all the people that Misty was talking about who were there.
And through painting that man as that serious ass
when
type.
we're talking about any of these allegations. In building the
tyrant
enterprise,
up.
the prosecution is trying to
Most
show
in the
the inner
world.
circle and people who worked for Bad Boy more
No,
broadly.
I don't
They
think-
weren't just doing maybe legitimate work on the different entities,
They see
but they were also the right-hand men and sometimes women, they allege, of Sean Diddy Combs. But what
Why
about the
y'all
fact
ain't giving
that
out no
this
fucking
witness
names?
And he, along with another person who was named a former chief of staff, they were trying to help her escape from his side. Does that undermine that the whole enterprise was working in cahoots with Sean?
So here's my view. There's no question that Nash furthers the narrative with respect to control, with regard to abuse, and with regard to coercion. No question about it. The bruising, the weekly visits in the hotel she didn't want to do. The issue with me is the causal relationship between his abusiveness, his coercive, his need for control. How's your hair? How's your makeup? What are you wearing today? Where are you? I'm going to look for you in this house, even in an oven, right? Because I'm just so maniacal. But is that...
And that irrational part might undercut it, you're saying?
Yes. But is there a causal connection between his irrationality, his jealousy, his outrage, his rage,
y'all paint this picture,
and his just being inhumane,
y'all
and him
still
coercing her to engage in this sexual activity?
What about the threats to expose her tapes and also to get her parents fired as well?
Yes, but is that because, right, is that because you're not going to do a freak off with me? Is there a direct connection between, hey, I'm going to expose these
they throwing out, they just throwing out sensational headlines and shit. And you gotta know that shit is working on the public. They got Netflix documentaries and shit, Hulu documentaries. Man, this case is bogus. That's the only point that I'm trying to make. Do I think
indecent,
but
is that because I want you to freak off with me?
Start them off with
And
self.
if you establish that connection and the jury gets it, it's
It
one
works,
thing.
yeah.
If you just show that he's a maniac who's doing horrible things because he's jealous, that's quite enough.
Well, you know, on the 29th birthday
Do it
party,
righteous.
there was
And ain't
testimony
nothing about
she
this
had gone
trial
to
righteous
a
at
club
all.
with her friends.
Nothing at all.
And Deontay Nash testified
And me as a black
that
man, I gotta be
Cassie was
100%
essentially
I'm so sick and tired of it.
persuaded and
But
almost
at the same time, I don't give a fuck about no entertainers and shit. I don't give a fuck about no CNN hosts. I don't give a fuck about nobody I see on the
paraphrasing
TV.
here, I do all this stuff for you and you can't do this one effing thing for me, F you.
I'm just tired
That's
of.
how they tried to
I know the psychological
about
effect
the pressure about the freak
on
offs.
society for one thing.
Does that address Joey's claim, or is that still not enough?
You know, I think it doesn't have to be so surgical, right? I mean, I think if you have a relationship where there's all this
Everybody
pressure,
talking
all this
about Diddy,
coercion,
Diddy.
day
Why
in and
y'all?
day out,
Why
she
is
doesn't
it not
really
a top
control her own
headline
life. He
that
controls
the
her
president
life,
of France,
and then he makes these
his
demands
wife
on
is
her,
really a man
including these sex
that
parties,
groomed him as a
which is
minor.
the trafficking, right, element. I know.
And
I
then
think
just
that's
what was
gonna
it
be good enough
yesterday?
for the jury to say we're going to find the
Physically
sex
assaulted
trafficking
him.
because of
How
the
the
kind
fuck
of
is that not
totality
top
of
news?
circumstances
Why
of
is
the
that not news?
relationship.
Why we
But
talking
I
about
do
Diddy and
think
freak
that
off?
because
Why
of
is freak
the
off
relationship
the
and
main
how
thing
long
that
it
they
lasted
talk
and how
about
much she
in
wanted
this
it to be more
motherfucking
serious,
case?
the jury
Everything
is going
seems
to
to
have
be
to
based
decide
around freak
the
off.
coercion
When that was
was really
just one
coercion, and they have to
aspect of
get
their
into that
fucking
level.
life.
But I don't think it has to be so specific
If
of like
anything, you would have
at
thought that
this
they would
time
have
right
tried to
before the
get out
freak off. It has
after
to
him
be
after like some type of
coercion.
drug
And
charge
celebrity
and shit like
stylist
that.
who
Seeing how
worked with
they
Sean
was
Diddy
saying at
Combs
first
for
that he
about
was
a decade will
distributing
be
pink
back on the
cocaine and
stand
all that
in the
shit.
music mogul's trial this morning. Deontay Nash testified about several
Deontay,
incidents in which he claims to
Deontay,
have
faggoty
seen Combs
ass.
assault former girlfriend
I
Cassie
think
Ventura,
Stan
and
don't
he
get on the
explained
stand
one
ass
moment to
nigga.
the jurors
I'm not
about when
gonna lie,
Diddy
and
came
I'm
to
not
his
of
home
that.
looking for her.
I ain't one of them
Saying,
no
quote, "Puff
snoocher
came
ass
in
niggas.
and
Hell
he
no.
was like,
Nigga,
where the F is she?
we
He
were
started
crime
looking
together,
all around my
and
house,
one of us
in the
go down.
closets. He went in the
that's
oven.
probably
I don't know why he looked in
maybe.
the oven. And he asked me where she was.
Yeah,
Right
no,
here
I ain't
with
never
me to
saying that I'm
discuss all that,
anti-snitch.
former
No,
federal
I'm
prosecutor
pro-snitch
Elise
if
Adamson.
anything.
Elise, I'm
When it
sorry, I
comes to
have you on the Diddy docket.
I'm pro
but
whatever.
every day
When
there's
it comes to
something
me,
looking
I'm
in the
pro
oven.
me.
So here we go.
Period. I'm pro
The
all that shit.
stylist.
So
Why
that's
is
why I don't
this
never
figure
try to
in
get into
the
none of them moral
employer's
codes,
orbit
street codes, and
significant?
all that shit that motherfuckers be
Well,
talking
Adi, there's
about.
a lot of
Oh, nigga, that's
significance
what
to
you
this
got.
stylist. And
I
honestly,
ain't
when
that.
I
I ain't
saw him on the
gangster.
witness list, I
I'm not
didn't
a tough
appreciate
guy.
the
I ain't none of
significance
that
until
shit.
after
I'm
this
robbing.
testimony. So first of all, again, he's offering some insight into how this
Robbing like
Holmes
this
enterprise
motherfucker.
operated, which is
Freedom
key to
and
that
all that
RICO
shit,
charge.
though.
We've talked about
You a
this
crime
before.
nigga. Hell no.
It can't just be
It's not in
Holmes
your best
operating on
interest
his
to do
own.
that shit
He needs to
with
be
or
operating with
around me.
people furthering this corrupt
And the
enterprise.
stylist
go
is
left.
there behind closed
Oh, nigga,
doors,
I'm going
sometimes
right.
silently,
Right to the
while
authorities.
people are still doing business, right?
People are still doing business, and also
Yeah.
the business
I'm
of
going
sex
right,
trafficking,
dog.
which is kind of at the heart of this case.
Man,
And
I
I
wish
also
it didn't
wanted to
take me
say
so long in life to
significant to
figure
the
out
sex
that if
trafficking
you just
charge
do
was a
everything
lot
right,
of his testimony.
it
He
tends
talked
to work
about
out right.
blackmail.
Yeah.
He talked about
I
seeing
just ain't know
Cassie
that
bloody,
as a young
and most
dumb dick.
significantly, he
But as
talked
I
about
got
Cassie
old,
telling him she didn't want to participate
Start
in those
figuring
freak
shit
offs.
out.
So
Man,
his
fuck
testimony
this
was
shit. I'm tired of
exceptionally
doing
helpful
bad
for
shit.
2 charges, the
Wait,
RICO
say that
and the
last part
I
sex.
again.
figured that
That
lesson out
so
in
he's
prison.
is he one of the
I
first
did
people
my
to come out
time.
on the
I
stand and
gave
say
my time.
specifically she did not want to be a part of this?
Yeah, that's right. And so Cassie herself,
few
when she
times.
testified, she made
I learned
clear
my lesson.
that she did not want to participate in these
Crime
freak
does
offs.
not
But
pay.
subsequently,
Fuck that shit.
some
What
of
it
the
do, pay?
witnesses
I
said
don't
it
need
seemed like she
need
was
that.
cooperative or she was enjoying herself. Nash's testimony corroborated what Cassie had said, that at some point she just didn't want to do it anymore. Some of the testimony was heartbreaking, that she wanted to go to a party. She was still young, like a young kid. And Diddy said no, he wanted her at a hotel to participate in this freak off. And he asked, well, why are you doing it? If something to the extent of, well, why are you doing it if you don't want to do it? She said, because he wants me to. Almost like she has no choice. That is completely in contradiction to the defense's opening, painting her as some strong woman making her own decisions. She seemed like a scared young person who was under the control of a very powerful man.
Okay, the defense team at one point asked the judge to declare a mistrial. Is this a Hail Mary? Is this just the thing you do? Help me understand a legal mindset.
Yeah, very dramatic moment in court, of course, when the defense jumps up and asks for a mistrial. It's actually very common, though. A lot of times, the defense is trying to preserve an appellate issue. They also want to shoot their shot, you know? Maybe a judge will buy their legal argument. It was all based on some fingerprint cards. We had an LAPD fire investigator testifying, and they were talking about the investigation in that Molotov cocktail bombing.
Yes.
And they were talking about how the fingerprint cards where they were testing for prints mysteriously had been destroyed. And the defense was saying, well, the line of questioning can leave a misimpression with the jury that Combs was the one that destroyed it. And they said it was so prejudicial, you got to throw out the whole case. And what the judge is going to do is just instruct the jury to not listen to that testimony, strike that testimony as irrelevant. And that
Yeah.
is the proper cure. But
you also signal to jurors, we're worried about this. We're worried that you heard it.
sometimes
yeah.
that's the thinking. It's so key that you said that, because when deciding whether to make these objections, you do draw attention to testimony when a judge then gives a limiting instruction and says, okay, you may have heard that they testified X. You need to disregard that. Do not use it in your deliberations. It's irrelevant. I mean, you're
I'm trying to unring the bell.
Unring the bell.
One more thing. We have heard in the past his lawyer talking about the idea that Diddy would want to testify. It's one thing to say that ahead of your trial. It's another thing to sit through the trial, see how it's going, and make that call. What are going to be the signals to you that that might actually happen?
I honestly don't know. And I'm saying this because he's in so much legal peril that putting him on the stand, in my opinion, would be probably a bad tactical decision, because the government has so much information that they can go and cross.
First of all, bitch, fuck your opinion, because isn't she a former prosecutor? And this is what I mean by them, parade women. It's little tactics like that, They trying to get sympathy for women. They want women of America, women in the world to see, oh, this could be you. Cassie is every woman. She's just like you. And this shit is gonna play very well with former victims of domestic violence and shit. They doing all this shit to win win in the court of public opinion and shit, because they know they going at, ladies and gentlemen, everything that we watching in this farce of a trial is all about them stealing that man's asset. I've seen them run this play too many times. I've seen their tactics too many times and shit. I don't even refer to these people as government no more, because they're not our government. Them motherfuckers who pretend to be our government, that shit is a farce, man. This country is occupied. This country is ran, dominated, whatever term you want to use. Make no mistake about it. Elite Jewish Zionists run everything that goes on in this motherfucker. From the education to the media to the banks to the motherfucking courtroom. Why you think you always do well if you get you a Jewish lawyer? Because it's their motherfucking game. It's just that society hasn't quite put the pieces of the puzzle together yet. to figure out that we playing their game. They shape the narratives and shit. White ain't nobody in here ain't never seen no real proof of no motherfucking Holocaust, and I ain't trying to offend nobody who religion might fall under Judaism or whatever. But all that Jewish shit, get the fuck out of here with that shit. I burn at the stake saying that shit. I ain't no nigga like I tell you, you gotta hit me in my mouth to shut me up. And even if you hit me in my mouth, I don't know how to shut up. God ain't put that gene in me. I don't know how to fold. I don't know how to take no knee. I don't know how to do that shit. I know how to fight, nigga. I know how to fight till you die. Now, let me tell you something. I had court recently and shit. And I was right there at the podium with the lawyer and shit, getting ready to take this motherfucking plea deal and shit. And I would took the jail. I would have went to jail and shit. You know, this little jail time and shit. For the traffic shit. Some old traffic shit from like 2021. But I'm a stubborn ass nigga, like I told y'all and shit. I don't got that bend, that fold shit in me. And the truth of the matter is, man, they gave me these motherfucking 300 hours of community service. And I told their ass I ain't doing no motherfucking 300 hours of community service. And so we went back and forth all these years. They kept on continuing but trying to make me do 300 hours of community service. And I told them I'm not doing 300 hours of community service. And they all, the whole time, they threatened me with jail time and shit. And I tried to tell them motherfuckers, I don't want to go to jail, but the matter is that jail shit is probably just be a relaxed vacation. And so, but at the same time, I got a wife and I got kids and shit, so I'm keeping them in mind and shit. So I was about to take a plea deal and just go do 30 days in jail. And right when I'm, you know, when the judge asked you have it, were you coerced and all this shit, and that shit was just like, no, I wasn't coerced around it. But hold on, man, I'm not so sure I want to take it. You and I got to be honest. It's something in me that I know when I got back to that chair and I sat in that motherfucking cell, I would have broke down, bawling and crying, thinking about the fact that, nigga, you ain't even fight. You just let them get you. Nigga, you ain't even fight. Oh, no. So it's like, yeah, yeah, run out. Shit, I want to fight, but let's get this trial thing going. Let's get this trial thing going. Fuck that shit. And it's like, man, because it's really just a hearing and shit. You know, like some motion for them to terminate that shit. And it's just like, man. And I know a whole lot of motherfuckers like, man, it's true, God. They might. That's you, nigga. That's you. That's the difference between me and you. I ain't got that fold shit in me. I ain't got that shit in me that'll let a motherfucker talk down to me. That's why I always stay up out of like law enforcement face. Not because I got a problem with law enforcement. I love the police. Hell, they save lives. On the real. If something happened right now, my mom in danger. I can't get to my mama. My mama live hours away from me. You know who can get to my mama? The motherfucking police. So if any dumb motherfucker be running around the bar, man, fuck the police. No, fuck you, dumb nigga. Until you put on a motherfucking cape and start flying around, stopping crime and shit, nigga, shut your ass up, nigga. You better start donating to the police. Fuck you talking about? On the real. Just because it's some bad ones, nigga. It's bad ones all over. Same way as bad police, man. I be reading stories about some good ass police officers. I read a story earlier about a police officer pulled a man over. He seen the man had his daughter in the back without a motherfucking car seat. Instead of him getting the man a motherfucking ticket, oh fuck that, bro. He took that man to Walmart and bought that man a car seat. That's a human being that carrying shit. I don't know how you motherfuckers got this idea in your head. Oh, I'm gonna fight, stupidity with stupidity. Yeah, you gonna win. You stupid motherfucker, and you gonna win. Like, no, man. Y'all want to know how we win the war? Y'all want to know how to get the world back to a somewhat normal, somewhat decent? Be fucking decent. That's it. Be decent. Just get along with folks. Ain't nobody telling you to kumbaya. Ain't nobody telling you to that you gotta like every motherfucking body, but you should love everybody. Just because motherfucker they represent God. They represent life. If you love God, then you should love human beings. It's a whole lot of motherfuckers I don't like. On the real, I got my own prejudices towards every other race. If you ain't my race, hell yeah, I'm prejudiced towards your ass because you're different than me. That don't make me bad. That don't mean I hate you. That don't mean I want to see you gone. That don't mean I want to see hard times on you. Hell no. That just means I recognize there's a difference between me and you, and some of those differences between me and you, I don't particularly like. That's my motherfucking prerogative. That's why I never get in my feelings or get into that shit that motherfuckers try to give you emotions about. Oh, these Proud Boys doing this march over here and there. So, what the fuck I care? Unreal. But no, you dumbass niggas, I be watching. I watch the media play with black folks' emotions in America so motherfucking often. That's why I hate watching this bullshit ass fake ass trial, man. Man, they railroading shit out this dude. How the fuck y'all gonna try to get this man a motherfucking trial at the same time y'all got all major networks running documentaries on this dude? They literally done painted and convicted him before this shit even started. They had documentaries on Diddy. What the fix is in? If his lawyer don't get this shit thrown out, man, he better 187 his motherfucking lawyer. But Diddy gotta know in his head right now and shit, like I say all the time, man, you can't dance with the devil. You dance with the devil thinking you got the hottest moves. What's wrong with you? And Diddy thought that he could dance with the devil and shit. Everybody that's in the know why he in that motherfucking courtroom right now. Because he tried to get that dirty money with them racist ass Jews and they liquor company. They got over on his ass like they do with everybody throughout history. Man, it's over 1,000 fucking nations. Every nation throughout history been exiled them goddamn people. But y'all still don't think it. Just maybe it might be those people. Maybe. Huh? Y'all act like these motherfuckers got a clean slate, like these motherfuckers been traveling around the world as missionaries or some shit. Hell no. They are the actual traveling evil ass gypsies. For any motherfucker body who don't know the history of them motherfuckers who call themselves Jews. And once again, for anybody who don't know, who say dumb shit like, oh, you are anti-Semitic. I cannot be anti-Semitic. I am of a Semitic people. You want to know what a Hebrew looks like? I mean, you have to look in the books or you have to go over there to like Northern Africa or some shit. But you want to know what a Hebrew descendant looks like? They look like me. Yep, palm complexion. Straight hair, different kind of hair, weird skin tone and shit. There are certain features that them people who call themselves Jewish, they just don't got it. That's why you think they got. What kind of nation are they? They literally got laws. They got like bans on getting a DNA test. I wonder why. That's why I get on this motherfucking app. For those of you, please don't mistake my rhetoric and my tone as the tone or rhetoric of a hateful person. I'm not a hateful person, but I do believe that evil should be cleansed of this earth. That's the truth. Real. And if you follow them people, track them throughout history, every significant catastrophic historic event in history will always, always, always tie back to those same motherfucking all the evil. Man, I got some stories that I'm gonna show y'all, man, that these motherfucking media ain't reporting about and shit. That I don't think the average person walking around, I don't think the average human being, average American, actually knows about these people and shit. I know a lot of folks don't even know like they religious book. I be hearing a lot of y'all be talking about the Torah and Torah and Torah. Like like, no, nigga, that's the facade they put up for you dumb motherfuckers. No, you want to know about them folks for real? Go read they real um religious reference. The Talmud, Talmud. Start there. You want to know what they think about. When you hear motherfuckers always accusing them about shit they got to do with kids, when you want to know where some of the worst shit in the world come from, shit like abortions and shit, who the fuck would concoct a way to murder a motherfucking baby? Think about that shit. What I always trip about with you women who always going in that motherfucker getting your gut sucked out and shit, killing God's life. Do you motherfuckers ever wonder what they do with them parts, with what's left over? I don't want to get into to them people and all that shit right now on the stream because, like I said, I'm gonna jump up off of here. I gotta do some YouTube videos and I want to get around to in on my game on off the grid because I'm starting to like that shit. I beat that shit last night. Talking about that battle royale, I came in first place. That was like my third game ever playing that shit. I felt like I was on top of the world. But I'm finna get up off of here for the moment and shit, man. And I'm gonna just check back with y'all. We're gonna stay on top of this Diddy. This Diddy case we're gonna keep on revisiting this because I don't wanna give away too much because I'm actually working on a, 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 a piece of content that involves this Diddy trial and shit. So it's like I don't want to be dropping like shit that I know on these bullshit streams that we doing and shit. You know, it's like it's a waste for one thing. Well, you got your man. I just read a headline from Club Shay Shay talking about some 2 Chainz verse on Mercy was better than Kanye, Big Sean, and who else was on Mercy? Kanye, Big Sean, and Pusha T. Oh, you got your motherfucking mind. 2 Chainz probably had the weakest verse, if we being honest. And Kanye verse put the cherry on top of that motherfucker. Boy, these motherfucking artists and shit be delusional in the motherfucker. Not that. Violin. Man, suck a dick. But anyway, man, yeah, we gonna revisit this goddamn Diddy case, man, quite a few times. But right now, I really ain't in this whole motherfucking like live stream kind of movie shit. So, and I got shit to do, so I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I be appreciating y'all sitting back listening to me talk, freeloading off the shit that I be playing, and y'all freeloading off my music and my the stories and all of that shit. Cause y'all, I say freeload, but y'all don't never like nothing. Y'all don't comment. Y'all don't say, "Hey man, this shit you talking about dumb in the motherfucker." Y'all don't do nothing. I guess y'all just, I don't know, look at the shit and go off into Wonderland. I don't blame you. Hey, I go to Wonderland all the time. I'm finna go do me a couple dads go all the way. But man, yeah, I'm gonna check back with y'all for real tomorrow, and I'm gonna do my best to actually bring it tomorrow. I just been exhausted and shit, man. I ain't had no energy to really get into this shit lately. That's why I just been turning on the camera and just sitting back talking with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Cause I really don't feel like I ain't have the energy to be going digging and diving, really getting emotionally involved in this shit. So now I'm one of them people. I just don't know how to muster up the energy for a whole lot of stuff. Shit. It's all just entertainment. But like I said, I catch up with you motherfuckers later. Tell your mama I said, "What up, nigga?" And I'll holler at y'all later. Gotta get up out of here. My nigga.
Shut up, faggot!